Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the second shelf. It's been a little while, as you might have noticed, because you always check. I didn't upload last week. That's what you get with poor planning and writing down a deadline wrong. And then you have to spend the whole weekend marking exams because the deadline is on Monday and not Monday a week from then. So I just didn't have time to film. Sorry about that. But we are back, and the good news is that now that my teaching is done, if you follow me, you might know that I went from two videos a week to one video a week because I had also to film videos for my online classes this semester. But the teaching is done, so I will try to go back to two videos a week, Sunday and Wednesday. We'll see how that will go. But anyway, first, the tops and flops of June. If you're not familiar, at the end of each month, I look at my reading and then I pick the books that I thought were the best books, quote unquote, that impacted me the most, and I also pick the flops. And as always, we start with the tops. And the first book in the tops is, as always, the book that I thought about the most, and that was a translated work of fiction, Emuna Elon, House on Endless Waters, translated from the Hebrew by Anthony Barris and Linda Yekiel, published in the English translation earlier this year in the spring of 2020, and the Hebrew original in 2016. Emuna Elon is an Israeli writer and activist. She writes fiction, nonfiction, and children's books, but this was my first book by her. I think only one other book of hers has been translated into English. And it was a buddy read with Brian from Bookish, and I will leave a link to his channel down below. If you're not familiar with him, please go and check him out and subscribe. House on Endless Waters is set in, partly at least, in present-day Amsterdam. And I have something bothering me here. Okay, I'm not going to edit this out. You just get the real experience. Little hairs bothering me. Anyway, so it's set in present-day Amsterdam, and we follow a very successful Jewish writer, Joel Bloem, who came to Amsterdam for a book tour, translation of one of his books into Dutch. And when he is in Amsterdam, he visits the Jewish Museum, and there he sees by chance a clip from the 1930s, a party, and he immediately recognizes his mother Sonia and his older sister Nettie. And there is also a younger baby boy in the picture, but it's clearly not him. Hence, he starts to investigate. Who is this child? Who is he? Why did his mother Sonia, after they immigrated from Amsterdam during the war, the Second World War, to Jerusalem, why did she always tell him that he should never visit Holland? So there is a family secret, which is kind of revealed early on, at least implicitly. If you read it, you sort of immediately could conclude what really happened. So the book is not about solving the mystery. The book is partly Joel roaming through Amsterdam, trying to find clues, but also trying to imagine the life of his parents, Sonia and Eddie, his older sister Nettie, and this boy, together with the family's best friend, another couple, Anouk and Martin, and their son. They are quite well-to-do, at least Anouk and Martin are, but they experience, of course, it is the 1930s, the anti-Jewish, the racist laws. So the book explores these themes through Joel, who tries to write the story of Sonia and the family as a fiction writer. And it tackles themes like guilt. What would you do in order to save your child during that time, the beginning of the Holocaust? What does it mean if a family history that you thought was true turned out not to be true? What does it mean for your identity? Um, and the questions of guilt are um, addressed really nuanced. So even people who betray their Jewish neighbors, they are not portrayed as, monsters, which I never liked because that's not the way it happened. Regular people did horrible things during that time. So all these themes together with this very lyrical approach to the family history by Yoel imagining his mother's story. I thought it was a wonderful reading experience, first of all, but it was also something that really made me think about important issues like guilt, identity, memory, something you carry on that didn't happen to you but happened to your family. If you're at all interested in that and in a book set in Amsterdam, I can highly recommend House on Endless Waters. The second book in the tops is the book that surprised me the most. And I always pick a book that I didn't really think would impact me. It was just an easygoing read or something. And then the book surprised me. And that's exactly what happened with Christina Baker Klein's book, A Piece of the World, first published in 2017. I don't always get along that well with commercial fiction. It's sometimes quite formulaic or predictable, but they are often easy reads, and that's basically what I expected when I read this book together with Doris from All the Books. The book is the fictionalized account of a relationship between two real life people. The American painter, visual artist Andrew Wyatt, 20th century artist, he died in 2009, and the object of many of his paintings, Christina Olson. The most famous painting, Christina's World. I will leave a picture of it here, where you see Christina in the field looking at the house. The relationship starts when Andrew Wyatt comes to know Christina through his fiancée, and he more or less puts up his painting studio in Christina's house, a farm that she runs together with her older brother. Now, Christina has a degenerative disease, polyneuropathy something, which basically means that from her early childhood on, she starts to lose the capability of using her arms and legs. So in that famous picture, she is not sitting in the field, casually, but she is crawling because she can't walk. I really loved the imagining Christina's life, her struggle to find her way despite her illness. And I especially love the fact that she wasn't portrayed as, a really good person because she's a victim and poor girl, she has a disability. She had her edgy sides, and she wasn't always a nice person, and she could be quite mean. So I liked, like with the House on Endless Waters, I always like it when characters have these, layered aspects to them. I thought it was very poetic. I loved the picture. That was why I picked up the book in the first place, because I really love Andrew Wyatt's work, and especially this picture, because the first glance is this young woman sitting in the grass, but it's not. It has more meaning to it. I know this book isn't for everyone. If you watch Doris's channel, she didn't like the book that much. She thought it was okay, but it didn't really get to her. And I had a different experience, maybe because I went into it with less expectations, but it really surprised me. I thought it was profound and deep, and I loved the writing. So I can recommend it, knowing that it's probably not a book for everybody. And as always, the third book in the tops is the best nonfiction work I read. And for this month, it is Rebecca Stott's book, Darwin's Ghosts, first published in 2012. And I read this book for my decade project, in which I read a fiction work and a nonfiction work of each year between 2010 and 2019. So I will talk about this book again in more detail when I wrap up my 2012 decade. For now, I read this also as a buddy read with Heidi from my reading life. You find a link to her wonderful channel down below, which goes to show buddy reads suit me well, because the best books are always buddy reads, but also some of the flops, as you will see. Anyway, this book is, first, Rebecca Stott is an English writer and academic. She teaches literature, Victorian literature, but she also wrote a biography of Darwin, a book about oysters, and she published a novel as well. And this book, Darwin's Ghosts, opens shortly after Darwin published his famous work on the origin of species in 1859. And he tries to write a preface in which he thanks all the scientists and people examining evolution or how the origin of species before him. And Rebecca Stott takes this idea, and then we get this overview from Aristotle to Arab scientists to French naturalists, who examine the same thing, the origin of species, and how that developed, and why Darwin was he was the one in a line. I'm struggling making all sentences. So he was not the first to think about it, but he was the first to be able to come up with a system, this what we now call the survival of the fittest or natural selection. That was why he could come up with a theory of evolution, with an explanation of evolution, whereas others have failed. It's a fascinating book. It's well written. It's engaging, and you learn a lot. So it was definitely my top pick of nonfiction work for June. So these were my tops of June. On to the flops. And the first flop was also a work of nonfiction, an essay collection, Dead Girls by Alice Bolin, or Bolin. Not sure. I tried to find out, but couldn't find a pronunciation help. Anyway, it was a flop, so who cares? I read this as a buddy read with Kathleen from Kathleen Ann. She has sort of taken a break from YouTube, but is now back. So please click on the link below and subscribe to her channel. Catherine and I are reading nonfiction together on a regular basis, and we are especially interested in feminist writing. So the essay collection Dead Girls, published in 2018, interested us because it said on the blurb that it examines the American obsession with dead white women and how that ties into feminism. That sounded fascinating and interesting. Well, the book wasn't. First of all, most of the book wasn't about dead girls. It was about the writer, the author, trying to find her way as a young author. Alice Bolin lives in Memphis, Tennessee. She teaches creative nonfiction writing there. So she chronicles her life, starting college, and It also talks a little bit about this obsession with dead girls in the beginning of the book, and that was the best part. It was not brilliant because it didn't really offer anything new. It was a rehash of things that other writers have said much more eloquently, for instance, Rebecca Solnit, but it was okay. But after that, it just went downhill. It was not exceptionally well written. Okay, it was not badly written, but it was mostly pretentious. It talked about it was a book that, me. Look how interesting I am. Look how many interesting thoughts I have. But she doesn't really. So it was just a disappointing read from various angles because it didn't deliver what it said it would, examining this obsession with dead white women in film and theater and books, TV series, but it was also just a very pretentious author telling me how great she is. And she isn't. So, no, 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 no. And the second book in the flops was a book that I thought I probably loved, and I read it together with Heidi, with whom I read Darwins Ghosts, and we both just didn't like it. Didn't do it for us. And it is a much beloved book on BookTube and otherwise, and that's Min Jin Lee's novel Pachinko, first published in 2017. Pachinko is the story, multi-generational story, starting in 1910, the year that Japan annexed Korea. And the starting point is Busan, a Korean port village. And we follow the story of Sunja, the daughter of a fisherman and his wife. She has an affair with a married man. She doesn't know he's married. She gets pregnant, and then she marries. She gets a marriage proposal from a priest who happened to be in the guest house of her mother's, recovering from an illness. And Sunja, she nursed him back to health, and he knows that she's pregnant from another man, but still he wants to marry her. So they marry. They go off to Japan to live there. He as a priest, a Catholic priest, and then her children and the children's children. This book just didn't work for me at all. The writing was fine. It's quite straightforward. And the beginning was really good. I liked the setup and the character of Sunja. And when they move to Japan, she befriends the wife of her husband's brother. But then it sort of unraveled, as if the author lost grip of her story entirely. There are so many characters that at least I just didn't care about at all. But the worst thing is, there were two things that really irked me. And the first was that there were a couple of interesting topics in the book that the author wanted to discuss, obviously, one of which was the image of women and what beauty means in that Japanese society at that time. But she's telling me that so many times because obviously the author thinks I'm stupid, and I hate that. And the other thing that really irked me was that I felt that a lot of the dramatic events were just put in there for the drama effect, because the story got boring and then somebody had to die or had a really, really violent experience because you have to keep the reader awake. I just don't like it. So I know that many of you love this book, but for me, it was just a big disappointment, something that I will probably forget very soon. Anyway, these were my tops and flops of the month of June. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you are all safe and healthy. Looking forward to your comments down below, and I'll see you all soon in the next one.